Cool, we locked in. How you feeling, man?
Hey, good man, good man. Bright and early,
That's,
love it.
that's funny. When I woke up, so I woke up at 8 o'clock my time, which is like 7 a.m. your time.
Oh wow.
So I'm like, I'm texting. I text you. I was like, damn. I wonder why you're not texting back. So when I thought about it, I was like, damn, it's the time zone. Like I was like, oh, okay, now it makes sense.
Yeah, I woke up and seen a text message. I was like, dang, I just realized he's on Eastern time.
Yeah, exactly. And I was like, damn, okay. Yeah, it all added up then. But
Yeah.
yeah, man, I appreciate you for coming on. Typically we normally have good conversations anyway
Yeah, for sure.
about all kind of things and whatnot. But I guess I'll start with this. And I can't even remember where somebody had mentioned this to me, but it's gonna sound weird when I say it. But do you think everybody sees the same color?
Bruh.
Like, do you think like I could be taught like you could see the
I know
color
exactly
yellow,
what you're
right?
talking about.
But I could see red, but I was taught that my version of red is yellow.
I've been down this road with my wife at
Yeah.
least 3 times, and she always looks at me like I'm crazy. But I'm like, we might not see the same
We
color.
might
We
not see
might
the
just
same color. Like
associate the same word with the same color.
exactly. We may just see things differently. We was taught this is all the same.
Yeah. And everybody looked
Yeah.
at that color at the front of the class and was like, you may have saw
Yeah.
yellow, I saw red, but we all said red
We
together.
all said red together. Exactly. So that's just how everything worked out because somebody brought it to my attention that we all could be some version of colorblind. We just don't know it. Like we'll never be able to know it ever.
Yeah.
Like
Did
there's no
you
way to study it ever.
did you see that one? What was it? It was a while back, some years back. It was like the dress or something when people were arguing like, no, it's
Exactly.
blue, it's gray, it's blue, whatever.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, I think we all just perceive colors differently. And we just never be able to know. Just it's a matter of how we all function together as a society, I guess.
Yeah. It's all
Exactly.
all relativity.
Yeah, so guess we'll jump into it. I know we had kind of threw out a topic in terms of like social constructs, especially when it relates to social media and how men and women differ and how they're perceived when it comes to social media. Because I always say that women run social media, like
Same. I'm a
hands
firm
down.
believer.
Like
Firm believer.
without a doubt, women run social media. Not that it's a problem, but I think that men could do so much better on social media if there was room for one to grow and two there was some kind of support. Like I see women support women all day.
All day, every day.
I know there's this narrative that women tear down women. I personally don't really see it as much as that it is said. I see women support women more than anything.
For sure.
Now,
I definitely see that.
I see men tear down certain men based off what they do. Like if a man's not going to the gym or if a man's not doing, I guess what can be deemed as masculine, then it's looked at as weak or feminine, right? There's no in between that if you're not doing this, then you must be this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think that kind of creates the problem that even when I do my videos and my day in the lives and shit like that, I get like a few comments like, oh, this is weak or this era of men is not masculine no more and such. When in reality, I honestly don't give a fuck. But
yeah. It
but
really
it's like
doesn't matter. And I feel like sometimes when I see this stuff on social media, it's more like regular day-to-day life kind of stuff.
yeah,
And I'm like,
yeah,
what makes this feminine in any kind of way? And
right,
I don't think a lot of men have come to that stage in emotional intelligence, or even some women in the stage of they don't realize that we have both masculine and feminine energy. Everybody. I think
right.
the term masculine and feminine energy kind of made it very polar. At one time, it was like that. You know, back in the day, there was probably very masculine men and very feminine women. But as we move into society and become more emotionally intelligent, you got to realize that there's room for both, because really all masculine energy is just like critical thought, direct thinking, and like very logic, whereas women are on the side of like intuitive, or feminine energies on the side of intuitive, receiving, and sort of like a creative set, and they
Right.
can blend and meet somewhere in the middle.
Yeah, and I
But
think that to your point, people associate masculine and feminine with female and male. When
yes,
that's nowhere near what it means.
that's
Like masculine energy is literally just masculine energy. It doesn't really have a gender. You know
yeah.
what I mean?
If women can portray it all the time. I think some
Yeah.
women do portray it more than men portray
Exactly.
it sometimes. I've seen a lot of the spectrum, especially as social media has grown and arisen. You can kind of see it sometimes. We're like, just someone would be more focused on work. Some men be more focused
Yeah.
on love. It's just two different sides of the coin.
Yeah, and I don't feel like there's an issue with either. Like,
Yeah,
I don't feel like there's an issue with a man who's more in touch with his feminine side. I don't feel like there's a woman who's in touch with her masculine side. Like, I don't think there's an issue with either or. It's just social media has constructed this idea that a man is supposed to do X, Y, and Z,
yeah,
right? Not even just social media, but just society in general, to where now things have to be a certain way. And then it's like when people see things that are different, and it's like, oh, that's not right. When in
hmm
reality, like if I wake up in the morning and I wash my face, I make the bed, I go play with my dog, I water plants, like I do natural shit every day, right?
yeah,
But then the idea comes like when I post it on social media, it's like, oh, this motherfucker didn't go to the gym, he didn't do this, he didn't do that. They're naming all of these things that they feel as I should do, but that's just not realistic in my day-to-day life. Like my day-to-day life is very simplistic. Like I may go to the gym, but in normal, like a normal day for me, it's like you should be washing your damn face every damn day.
true.
I have dogs. I have to play and take care of my dogs every damn day. Like these are
Yeah,
things I do in my day-to-day life.
yeah,
You
that's
know?
important stuff.
Yeah, like these are just, and to me, they're just natural things. But then, like I said, I sent you the Twitter thread and I'm looking at this guy and he's doing the exact same thing. Like he's waking up doing very normal things. Like
Hmm
it's not like he's doing just random shit. Like he's doing,
He's
he's
really
doing
just doing like
just,
adulting. He's just adulting properly.
yeah, like I looked at it and then I see like like I said, I sent it to you. So I'm reading the comments and I'm just like, damn, motherfuckers really do not like this shit. I'm like, why? Like this is
Yeah, I see. And what's crazy was I saw like women like, oh, he's soft. I'm like, what is that? What
like
does that mean? I
I
I really think certain situations call for certain energy. When you waking up in the morning, this isn't the time to brush your teeth like a gangster and like punch a mirror,
yeah,
like
like
punch a dog.
yeah,
Like
waving guns, like
I don't get that. Like what's can you even like play with your dog hard? Like what, you gonna beat your dog ass or something? Like I don't really get it. I understand like okay. There comes a point in a man's life where he has to be ready for the opportunity to be a protector of the household. Okay, I get it,
right,
you know, because when it comes push comes to shove, usually it's not the woman that's stepping up to the guy that busts and kicking the door. Heard and understood. Okay, men have to stay prepared for that kind of thing. Does that happen often? No. Can we still, you know, have a soft life and still be active as men? Yes, I think there's room for both. But if we continue to pigeonhole ourselves, especially in the social media era, we're going to get left behind because there's opportunities for both men and women to make money in this social media game. But it takes cooperation and collaboration. Something that I noticed with EC, my wife, for those on the podcast or whatever that don't know. When there's so many avenues for her to be an influencer, whether it be hair, makeup, lifestyle, clothes, whatever. But if we're just doing the manly thing and just only going to the gym, we're only going to get sponsored by Nike and Under Armour or whatever. We leave out all the lifestyle. We can't represent any other brand. It doesn't really make sense when you're trying to be an actual influencer and live an influential life. I just it confuses me. It
no, no,
confuses me.
that makes perfect sense because I know for me, I'm at the point now where I want to go at like the way I look at social media is that, especially when it comes to brands, what brands can I partner with long term,
Yeah.
right? Like if you want to be a masculine guy, for me, from what I've seen, women brand deals are more long term than the men brand deals that I see,
And lucrative.
right? And way more lucrative, way more lucrative.
Way more lucrative.
So now I'm at the point where I'm like, damn, I got long hair. Should I like to wear my shit natural? So it's like, shit, I might go after a couple hair brands. I'm at the point where I see how women do it
Mm-hmm.
and I envy it. And it's like, damn, men don't do this on the same scale. And I mean, men have great hair. It's not like men don't have great hair.
We both have hair. Like,
Yeah.
it's just like
You know
we're
what I
like,
mean?
and like if we don't represent those brands, then what? We're just gonna constantly be like, nah, hair is for
Yeah.
hair's for pussies. I can't.
It's like
I
I
can't
don't
take care of my.
understand. I don't understand it. And it's like there's so many brands out there, like furniture brands, like all kind of car brand. I see women get so many different kind of brand deals just from living their lives that it's
Mhm.
insane. Where men try to force a life, or even on the other side of the spectrum, that men feel like when they get on social media, they have to do the whole, the attract women thing. Like they got to go
Mm-hmm.
interview women. They got to do the women's side of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So they feel like they have to be this player.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, I gotta go talk to this woman, or I gotta try to do this gold digger prank, or this, that, and the third. When that type of, and I've been doing YouTube for a long time, I can tell you without a doubt that that type of content is not sustainable whatsoever. Not
No.
even close. They may think this shit's gonna be good for this year or next year, but I promise you, I've seen them all come and go.
Yeah, and it's not even great for brands. That does, like, a brand looks at that and they're like, this isn't name, image, likeness. When a brand sees you and they see that all your content is you just either downcasting women, interviewing promiscuous women, or just doing stuff like that, they're like, what how can I put my brand behind this? How can I represent my like you okay, you work with a Vino. How does a Vino look at that if you're out there just, just talking to women all day and telling them like you ain't shit? All like you just it doesn't make logical sense, but it does views, and I think most people are concerned with their views and follower account and not necessarily the message that they're portraying to their audience.
Right. And a lot of men look at YouTube as like a one-way street, right? When it's not.
Hmm.
This shit can open so many different doors, but if you limit yourself to, like you said, the type of content that you do, the promiscuous content, the degrading content and things like that, and it's like, I get it. A lot of them are young. They see this quick
Yeah.
money. It's an easy way to get views because, you know what I'm saying, these
Yeah.
young kids, they just attract to it. Cool. But when you start reaching that age of 25, 26, 27, you can't keep doing the same damn content because eventually it fizzles out. There's going to be another young guy that comes up and starts doing it. He may
Yep.
be a little funnier. He may not. It's just a fresh face that these kids are going to see and going to gravitate to. So now
Yeah.
you have to look back at your brand as an overall and how can you still be sustainable? Because one, you can make money on Snapchat, you can make money through Twitter, you can make money through Instagram. But if you limited your brand to this one specific type of content, what you're gonna do? You're gonna get a Red Bull brand deal.
Yeah, and that's gonna be a one-time deal too.
You know what I mean? So it's like people, especially men, need to start figuring out how to leverage the entire spectrum of
Yeah.
social media rather than saying, hey, YouTube is paying this, that's my only revenue source. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Because when it starts to fizzle out, it's like you
It gets
fizzle out.
tough.
Yeah.
It gets tough. And even like, I guess even transparently on like our YouTube channel with me and Issa, when we were doing the couples YouTube channel, it was great for the time that it was, but YouTube can change that algorithm in a second. They control the views, they control the price, they control the push, they control pretty much everything. So that's sort of where we came to this Patreon push, because we wanted to go to a platform where we had more control, where we could be who we wanted to be. But at the same note, like, YouTube still has its benefits because it's still, free advertisement. It's free. It's like a free for all. And if you have good content, it'll speak for itself with time. And we tried to shoot for evergreen content instead of one size fits all content when we were doing the couples channel, because you can go back to the videos and still get value from the videos that you see. Whereas with like a lot of the pigeonhole content that men usually gain, or they usually aim for, no one's really going back 2 years in your videos to watch you downcast a woman or like do interviews, whatever, at the mall or whatever like that. Like, it really limits your potential. And like you said, I've seen people come and go. I've seen a lot of YouTubers come and go, and they don't like the marathon. They don't like it, the social media push. But the blessing in disguise was because we chose that route. And yes, it wasn't the most entertaining route for virality, but brands appreciated it, and brands started looking at it as like, okay, we can put our product behind your faces because you represent something. You stand for something outside of some surface level energy. And I wish more men would notice that, but it's hard to get them to see it because they haven't seen the other side of it. When I talk to a lot of guy influencers, they still don't see really brand deals. The more questions that I've gotten from other small time influencers, maybe they're big on Facebook, and they've had honestly, they're killing me in terms of followers and engagement. They'll have millions of views, hundreds of thousands of followers, and then they're asking me about a brand deal, and they're like, how do I negotiate this? And I was like, this is your first brand deal? And like, yeah. And it's usually a clothing brand, or it's usually something like a one-time deal. And I try and explain to them every time. I was like, what does your brand represent? And that question usually stumps them.
Yeah.
usually. And I try and tell them, like, either you have to start transitioning your brand to something that stands for something like actual long-term value, or you're going to have to backtrack and your following is going to look at you kind of sideways because you've been known for a certain niche and now you're trying to switch it up and it doesn't seem authentic to who you are as a brand because that's not who you were before.
That makes perfect sense. And it's like in my case, right? Like with the Vino, the way I secured this deal was very random, but it was also very simple. And that's
Yeah.
what I try to. And this is when it was like my wake up call. Like, oh shit! Like all I have to do is this, just be my fucking self, and then things like this happen. So
Mm-hmm.
I decide, I think it was like one of my first or second ones. I decided to do like a little lifestyle video, wash my face, just some simple shit, show the Vino product or whatnot. And again, I tag the brands, keep it pushing, but in the same time, a lot of people don't realize. And I was just having this conversation, like when you do these certain videos and you do these certain pictures, it's cool to tag the brand. That's cool. You
Give
know
them
what
a
I mean?
little free promo.
Yeah, that's cool. Like there's nothing wrong with that. People look at it like, nah, I'm not giving this away, or it's like there's literally nothing wrong with it.
You were going to
It's
post it
also
anyways.
yeah, so it's also very good as like a sample content for what the brand can see what you can bring. So
Mm-hmm.
how I secured a Vino was I did the content, I showcased the Vino, whatnot, but then I DM'd him like, hey, boom, sent them a DM like, hey, see what I can do. I can do something similar. We can talk more details, yada, yada, yada. They hit me back. It was like, normally to spill, hey, we'll be in contact. What's a good email? If it's a good fit, we'll reach out. Cool.
Yeah.
So maybe a month goes by and I'm like, okay, maybe it just wasn't. There's nothing wrong with it, but, maybe it just wasn't a good fit. Ended up getting an email. It's like, hey, we want to secure 3 different IG reels, 2 TikToks, blah, blah, blah for X, Y, and Z. And I'm like, oh, shit. Like, it took very minimal work. It was fun work and it was good for me.
Yeah.
But it took very minimum. People need to, especially men, need to realize that these lifestyle brands are coming.
They're
here
here.
To stay. They're coming.
They're already here.
They're coming.
And what's crazy was I noticed when you posted that first one, I was like, he's a genius. He caught it. Because when I saw you post it and then you tagged Vino, I was like, this is the start. That's how I got my first deal with Nike. I posted Nike 6 times. Every time I posted something, I tagged Nike. I DM'd it to him. I was like, this is good content. And all I focused on was making sure that it was high quality content. Would this go in a magazine? Would this go on a website? And sure enough, after like a year, they came back and were like, hey, we have this shoe. And it was a basic shoe, to be honest. It was like a black and white new Air Max. And I was like, okay, I could have got a funkier color and made it real cool, but I'm going to make this work because it was my first opportunity. Did what I had to do. They loved it. And then they came back. So I've worked with Nike like 3 times now, but all you have to do is to get your foot in the door and just show them that you're capable of producing good content, because they really don't care how big your following is. They have the following. These brands have the following.
Yeah.
They just need a good face and a good quality setup or content to put their name on, and then they'll just send. You're basically a freelancer when you're a good influencer.
That's it. That's literally it. And that's why I tell people, go after these certain kind of brands, because when you look at a brand like a Vino or a Nike, right, they're ever changing. They're always coming out with something.
Always
products, something, right, which leaves the door open for you to promote and be partnered with something.
Yep.
Right. And it's like you said, if you produce high quality content, good content, and your brand and your image is very something that they can attach themselves with, you're always going to be in that conversation, always be a part of it. And you're always going to have a foot in that door.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
I didn't have management. I still don't have management, which is the craziest thing ever. And I'm still securing brand deals, which is crazy because my wife, she's got management, and they're usually doing the outreach, in reach, whatever, with all these brand deals. But what I guess a side door strategy that really worked with me is that there was these intermediary companies that would come to me and be like, hey, we're representing this brand. And then I was like, do you represent other brands as well? And they're like, yeah. So when I did those brand deals, I tried to remain as professional as possible in terms of email times, returning the emails back on time, making sure that everything went well, even sometimes doing a little bit extra on the back end. Cause like they would ask me for like 2 posts, 3 stories. I'd give them 2 posts, 4 stories, and I would still post that content on my TikTok just so they know. And then they'd come right back
Yeah.
with another brand, because Nike led to Dick's Sporting Goods. Dick's Sporting Goods led to Groupon. The Groupon led to Panera Bread. And I'm like, oh, these brands, they're looking for men. They're
Yes.
looking for men. And there's too
Yes.
many men that are too hard for content. So I was like, well, shoot, I'm not that guy. I can be comprehensive.
Yeah.
I can do all this.
Come on board.
Yeah. If the check is clears, I'm good. Like I'll
Yeah.
do what I have to do to, feed the fam. And like that's like that was the big eye-opening moment. She kept telling me, she was like, you don't have to just be a fitness influencer. I tried that. I was gonna be that guy. I was gonna do just straight workouts.
Yeah.
Gonna pigeonhole myself down, niche down to just fitness. And like it doesn't even matter to me anymore what my follower count looks like. And to be honest, my male following on my platforms is substantially low. I'm 90% women following me.
Yeah. Absolutely. Like, same way.
It used to bug me for the longest time. I'm like, bro, there's like, why aren't guys following? More often than not, guys be hating. It really, it's like, it's that masculine energy that feels like I'm in competition with this man. Why would I follow this man? I don't want to, whatever. To me, it don't matter. If you make good content, I follow a lot of guys in this space because they understand how to market to brands. It's good for the learning. I don't necessarily need to watch a bunch of guys lift weights. I can go to the weight room and lift weights. I've been doing that my whole life. Like it just feels like pointless time on my feed. I try and find things on my feed that'll either motivate me, give me some kind of creative direction, or teach me something new. Other than that, like I really don't even like to spend a lot of time on social media because I'm trying to be the producer of content on the back end of things, trying to figure out how I can be a better version of myself on the internet. And the best thing that I found is just being yourself, actually living your life on the internet like a normal person.
Exactly. And it's also, to me, the most important thing that I've done, especially from last year, is controlling the type of content I consume. Right, like I stopped consuming like the shade room and all of that stuff. I stopped consuming the toxic content, or at least the content that I deem toxic, because other people may not deem it toxic.
Yeah,
to me, I don't really care to consume tea room, shade room, any type of drama. I stay away from it. I don't even care to consume it. Like you said, I try to follow people that I can relate to, people that motivate me, people that I love their creativity. It makes me want to be more creative and things like that, because once you consume so much negative content, that shit starts to bug you.
It starts to influence you.
Yeah, like
either you're influencing or being influenced.
Yeah, like subconsciously too. Like if I watch somebody make bad decisions over and over and over, I'm not gonna watch this person over and over and be like, you know what, I'm never gonna make that decision. I'm not gonna make that decision. I'm not gonna make that decision, right? Then you have no reason to watch them if you're just watching them make bad decisions. But at the same time, you're watching them because you're probably making the same decisions they're making, and that's what you relate to.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I can't relate to this bad decision making or the toxic and the drama and the back and forth. So I don't consume it. I don't even, like, I get DMs or messages sometimes of people wanting to collab and whatnot, but then it's like 2 minutes later, I see you in drama, and it's like,
don't want to be a part of it.
And I try to tell people that it's not personal. Like I don't dislike you personally. Like I don't know you personally, but from a branding perspective, it's like I don't really feel like our brands would mesh because you're doing this and I'm trying to do this.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. And
I've had to tell a lot of people that too. It like our brands don't align. Yeah. If I don't want to collab if I see that your brand is representing something toxic and my brand is trying to represent something positive, because brands notice that they see everything.
Yes,
they'll go to your story, they'll look you up and down, they'll go through your content, and if you're always like hooping, hollering, cursing, all that stuff, whatever on the internet, doing all this ratchet stuff, they're like, I can't put my brand behind it. They'll walk away in 2 seconds. I've heard a lot of brands say like they look at your first 9. If they can't see their brand in your first 9, gone on to the next.
It's done for.
And with going back to what you said with like the apps and stuff, I unfollowed so many. I was doing a whole cleanse for the longest time because I kept always hearing, my mom always used to say, your birds of a feather flock together, or like your sphere of influence, the 5 people you surround yourself with most are a combination of what you'll be, because that's just your sphere of influence. But we live in a digital age. Most of us spend time on the internet. So your new sphere of influence is your feed.
Yep.
So as you look at your feed, if all you're seeing is, toxic behavior, toxic news, toxic this, toxic that, you feel like that's the niche that sells, or that's what you have to do as an influencer in order to gain more attention. And this got really crazy a couple years back when social media first started hitting and people were going crazy for virality. I think, do you remember Bunk Gang?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, everybody kind of remembers him. That was the culture for a very long time. People were just doing
Yes.
the most outlandish shit just to get attention and views. Clout turned into a absolute drug.
Yes.
But
Yes.
it wasn't about clout. It's never really been about clout. For a lot of these brands, it's about sales and numbers. It's about, where can I put my brand? All these brands are looking for people to represent them. And everybody's coming out with a business. Everybody's coming out with a brand. Everybody needs someone to represent them with a good face.
Yep.
That's where we come into play. We build relationships instead of trying to just be the cool kid that no one can keep up with. Be the relatable person. Be the person that, like, oh, he washes his face. I do too. He plays with his dog. I do too.
Right.
Not, he just lifts weights, eats protein, and goes to the gym, and that's it. Like, I can't relate to that. Like, that's not my life.
Yeah, at all. And to your point, because I know we had already mentioned it, when relating to Boot Gang, that is a guy that I kind of see him now, because I guess he's kind of rebranded himself.
Yeah, he's transforming.
Yeah, which I appreciate that.
Mm-hmm.
But I want people to realize that type of content he used to do, that shit fizzled out. Shit fizzled out fast. Very. He went down a path of trying to do this content. It went to cloud. I think at some point it went to drugs, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So that entire spectrum of content does not last. And now he's at the point where he's trying to rebrand himself, because I'm pretty sure he realized that if he wants to sustain himself as an influencer, as a creator, he no longer can do this shit.
It's a marathon.
Yeah, he has to change his methods and the way he does things. And I appreciate that, because one thing I dislike is a person who's stuck in ways. You know what I mean? Like, it's never too late. Like, sometimes it could be harder, but I don't feel like it's ever too late. So I appreciate the fact that he was able to look back and be like, I don't want to do this shit no more. I want to do something different.
Yeah.
But then you have those guys who are 29, 30, still trying to do just dumb shit. And I'm just like, yo, you're going to be 35, 40 years old looking back and be like, man, you had time. You had time to change. You had time to rebrand yourself and really take the time to dedicate yourself to it. And you chose not to. You chose to keep trying to chase the views. And then you look back and realize that, now we have the Kai Cenats and the Speeds. Like, these kids are younger now. They're coming up behind us.
And they're going to do that young stuff, and they're going to get the attention.
They're going to get the attention. They're not going to watch you no more.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's just the reality of it.
Yeah.
So now you have to rebrand yourself as a grown man. You're not this young kid no more. So you have to put your brand as a grown-ass man and do grown man things and adult properly. Adulting isn't going to the gym and drinking protein and dating multiple women all the fucking time. That's not being a man.
No.
Being a man is protecting your house, taking care of your responsibilities,
handling business,
doing
the necessary things to make sure that your family or your kingdom stays afloat. And if that means you doing lifestyle content, because more brands will reach out to you, that's the route you take.
Yes, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's a matter of showcasing your daily life, because I'm almost positive the most masculine men that you probably can find on social media do probably some of the most simplistic things in their daily life that they don't show.
Nope.
100%. Whether that's, washing their face, going to get massages, things like that. It's like, it's okay to show the simplistic things that you do in your life without having to always feel like you got to go to the gym and be yelling and doing things like that. It's like, it doesn't take all of that to be an influencer, especially as a man. Because like you said, these brands out here are looking for men, especially black men.
Especially us. It's the crazy. I really try and tell all my friends, I'm like, yo, you really have an opportunity. It's not saturated like most people would think.
No. Like, the idea of a black man as a creator, especially a lifestyle creator, is nowhere near saturated. There's so much opportunity out here in order to receive all of the same deals that everybody gets. But again, everybody wants to go into the fitness industry. Everybody wants to do the YouTube thing for clicks. And, one part of me is like, I want more men to get into it. But it's like the other part of me is like, well, it's just more for me. If you really want to be stuck in your ways, it's more for me.
Hey, I'll never try and force it down your throat. If you
Right.
want to give all the brands to me, fine. I'll take
Fine.
it.
I'm not gonna
Yeah.
argue. Obviously I want to give you the knowledge so that you can one day hope to pursue it. But
Yeah.
again, I'm not gonna force you. I'm not gonna put this camera in your hand and tell you to do something, right? You just gotta want to do it and know it and just chase it.
Yeah. And what's crazy was when I first started influencing or YouTube, even back when I was doing the couple channel, I was in masculine mode. To be honest with you, I was not very emotionally intelligent. I didn't look at this the same way I view it now. I was very unemotional about a lot of things in my life. And to be honest, that point in my life was, I don't know how to explain, very surface level, basic, just didn't understand a lot. I even got from my football teammates, I was called soft. I was called weak. I was called lame. All this stuff for doing YouTube. Same people, 3 years later, when I quit my job, become an influencer, making money, they see all these things that happen. Like, yo, man, so proud of you. What are you doing? Like, how do you do it? How do you get started? I was like, well, you got to be soft, I guess. You guys were the same ones calling me soft or calling me all these crazy things.
Yeah.
I saw an opportunity. I saw what most people weren't seeing, but I got to see, luckily I had, and you had the era, like we both saw like women in social media doing it and seeing the other side, seeing the brand deal, seeing just the life of what could be possible. And
Exactly.
and as a man, you're like, well, why don't you see too many men doing it? Well, untapped market, untapped niche. Let me go ahead and just get in where I fit in. And now you see the bright side of the other side of things.
Yep. And men just have to just know how to put themselves in a position to win. So the number one type of content that I film, sample content. That is the number one type of content that I film. That's content that never probably gets posted, but is literally content that I'm strictly filming, editing, putting my best foot forward in order to have a pitch to send to brands. Because it's one thing, it's like you said, everybody has followers. The brands has followers. Like everybody has influence nowadays, and at the same time, in these certain spaces, we are competing with women, so we have to stand out in some kind of way. So the brands are going after the women and probably a few men. So that leaves me on the spectrum of, okay, I got to put my foot forward. I got to show them why they need me.
Yeah.
So I film literally so much sample content, whether that's with alcohol brands, face wash brands, furniture brands. I've been in IKEA filming sample content like, hey, I can do this.
Yep.
And it's always a matter of what I tell people is like, don't be discouraged if you send this email and they say, hey, it's not a good fit at this time, right? You just want to be on their radar. You want the response. So then, 2, 3, 4 months from now, you send a follow-up. Hey, is there any influencer campaigns? Here's some more sample content, etc. You want to keep putting your foot in the door. Never get too discouraged. Just because they pass this time, it doesn't mean they're going to pass the second time.
Yep. And most of these brands have campaign time frames.
Exactly.
So you may have caught them. They've already picked their content creators for that month. You just came at the wrong time. Yep. But they're going to have a campaign again in about 2-3 months. If you stay on it, I've sent 5 emails. Now they're like, oh, we need an influencer. Who can we go to? Well, this guy sent us 7 pieces of content. They were all really great. I'm sure we can use him. Boom. Next thing you know, you're in. But most people want that instant gratification of like, oh, they didn't say yes to me, and now they get discouraged, and now they're off to the races, back to doing whatever.
Yep.
And like, I broke this down to my wife. I was like, it's 4 P's. You got the passion, you got a process, progress, and then profits. The passion is you want to be influential. You want to be an influencer. So you're going to have to use that to fuel your process, which is I'm going to do what you were like, we were saying, sample content or just filming extra content. Even if it doesn't pay me right now, I just have to keep doing it. And then as you get better at it, you're progressing through it and the profit shows up later. But what most people do in this social media game is they look directly for profit. Can I get a brand deal first week of influencing? Can I get paid on YouTube instantaneously? How can I get the most views, most likes, most everything off rip? But it's really a marathon. You have to like kind of just invest in this and understand that it's a marathon thing. To be an influencer is much different than it was when influencing first came out.
Yep.
When it first came out, yeah, everybody was just trying to get followers, get up there and status, whatever. Cool. we're at a new age. Everyone wants to be an influencer, but not a lot of people are actually influential. Most
Yep.
people are just kind of driving a circle of entertainment and kind of like turning everybody into zombie scrollers. But if you actually give good content, good valuable stuff, and you actually have a purpose on the internet, whether it be to, encourage people to do more lifestyle, encourage people, even sometimes more fitness, if you did it in like a conscious way, or I'd like to do reading. And sometimes I do like motivational speaking now. So having like some kind of way to build everlasting value,
Yep.
that is what makes you an actual influencer. And brands want actual influencers. They don't want
Yep.
just famous people that
Yep.
you can just put your clothes and stuff behind a famous person. They want an influencer, someone that the audience trusts and someone
Yep.
that they can trust.
Yep. That makes perfect sense. So I kind of want to shift the conversation a little bit towards the mental health side of things, because
sure.
I've seen people try to be an influencer, and a lot of times when people come to me, it's always on the idea of wanting to quit something in their life. They maybe want to quit their job, or they want to, to be able to take care of their kids. That's kind of where their influencing path, they want it to start there.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And I try to tell people that, one, you're not directly saying it to me, but you're subconsciously just chasing money.
Yeah.
Yeah, you want to chase money so you can quit your job. Like, I get it. Like, we all do. Like, we all want to get to some level of
Everybody wants to get
financial,
paid.
Everybody wants to get paid,
Mm-hmm.
But I try to tell people that if that is the reason that you're getting into it, you just want to quit your job and just be financially set, it's not really going to work for you.
Don't do it.
It's not going to work for you. Or even if it does work, like I said, you're 9 times out of 10, you're going to get into some content that's not sustainable. You're going to be on YouTube chasing views because that's what's bringing in the money right now. And then people are surprised. Like, I'll give you an example. Years ago, there was this guy. I'm not even going to name drop him because I don't know what he's doing now. He was doing a very specific kind of content, like very toxic, very promiscuous, very just erotic content on YouTube almost. And it got to a point where the adpocalypse had happened, is what they called it, where brands weren't liking what they were seeing on YouTube, pretty much.
And they were like, we don't want to put our brand behind it.
So a lot of brands pulled out, and a lot of content creators had started to fall because that monetization had went down dramatically. Now, the problem came when it came back. When all of the brands decided to come back, and YouTube had that whole brand pitch forum and all of that shit in New York, YouTube had said, hey, we're going to change our rules. We're no longer going to allow this shit. We're no longer going to allow this type of content. You will be demonetized. So this guy here, unfortunately, went from, living in a 5,000 square foot home to an apartment, right? Went from having a channel with 3 million subscribers, but only can pull 5,000 views. Right. So everything dramatically changed. And unfortunately, this person also, he kept trying to do the same content, realizing that YouTube just wasn't working. And like you said, YouTube is all algorithm based, right?
Very much so.
When that algorithm changed and no longer was pushing your content, what do you do then?
That was your sign to switch up. But most people get stuck in their ways and not as flexible as what they need to be. And with this algorithm and social media, if you're not flexible, like it happened on Instagram too. The algorithm changed. Both me and EC's follower count went down, I think, a couple thousand. And then like our videos weren't getting pushed as much. This is when Reels started to enter the equation. We were like, what happened to pictures? Like,
oh yeah.
And they were like, no, we're switching it up. They're trying to compete with TikTok. So they're like Reels. And then once I had reached out to a Instagram representative, and she had put me on game. She was like, they're trying to transition to a real heavy studio. So then that's when we just like, okay, well, I guess photos are out. We'll put in Reels. And then like every once in a while, we still do photos though, because I feel like this is the only space on Instagram where you can still do photos, which makes it cool. But yeah, it's the mental. When I first got into influencing, because I worked at Papado for 2 years, COVID hit. And honestly, COVID was a blessing in disguise. I know it was a very tragic time for a lot of people, but for me, that was when really YouTube happened. And right before that, it was YouTube Black. That's where I met you. That's where I met like all those other Black influencers. And I was like, this is super dope. Seeing Black excellence on the internet was super dope.
Yeah.
So then I just put my head down during COVID, end up quitting before we opened back up. And then I started influencing. But I didn't realize the mental toll that it would take, because I was trying to compete with an invisible force. And like, content was my job at that point. And when content is your job, you start seeing other content influencers doing really well. You look at your own content very harshly. You don't understand that, like, it's not about what other people are doing. It's about what you're doing with your content. And you really should just stay in your lane. But in my head, I was like, oh, I need to be this influential guy. I need to figure out what my niche is. I need to figure out what this is. It drove me into a cycle, dang near, of depression. I was in like a 2-year streak of trying to figure out who I was, a different identity. And I was comparing that to the internet. And the internet is really just, it's millions of people.
Yeah.
There's no way that you're going to win trying to compare yourself to the internet, because there's always someone doing something different that you may like, but it's just not your lane. And that, like, I had to get over that hump. I think I'm just now getting over that hump in terms of me being an individual influencer and trying to figure out like what it is that I want to do. And like the lifestyle content, or just motivational lifestyle, all that in general, is sort of where I feel like it's just fit me, because like it's just me just being me. I don't have to change who I am. I don't have to change what I do. I don't have to play this pissing contest with other men on the internet of like who's making content better or whatever. It's just me doing me. And if I can get to that point, or if I can show other people how to get to that point, that would be my ultimate goal. Because a lot of people are trying to compete for something, but we're all just doing the same thing. We're just living our life on the internet.
Yeah, that's a great point. So maybe about, I think it was like 2 years and some change now, when I first took my step into like being an individual influencer, right? And it was a big mental toll, because I was doing this type of content, strictly pictures, but it wasn't translating to what I wanted it to translate to, right? Like the different brand deals and whatnot. And it took me having a conversation with Adam. And he pretty much told me, he was like, yo, I don't really think you should be doing this type of content. Like, again, I'm trying to keep up the whole masculine energy. I got the gold tooth, like, you know what I mean? So I'm literally like doing like this hood guy persona type content. And at the time, I was like, yeah, this picture's fire, this, that, and the third. And then Adam was like, yo, I don't really think this is sustainable. Like, I don't think brands are gonna get behind this. And Adam gets a number of brand deals. So if you're gonna listen to somebody, he's a good person to listen to when it comes to that type of thing.
Yep.
I'm like, damn, like at the time I was like, I don't know what the fuck kind of content to do. Like, I've only ever did pictures, right? I've never done like short form content. I didn't get the TikTok wave. I didn't know about IG Reels and whatnot. I didn't do the lifestyle thing. Even though I did day-to-day shit all the time, I just didn't do it. So I was thinking to myself, like, how the fuck do I get into this type of thing? Like, what's the first step for me? Because, coming from my path, I was only used to doing one specific type of content. And now I'm trying to transition to this whole other realm of content that I just never done before, wasn't used to, my audience wasn't used to. And it took a toll, but then it got to a point that I just had to just face it with confidence. Whatever happens was going to happen, right?
Yeah.
But I just have to be more confident in myself in doing that type of content that I can be happy with.
Yeah.
That it started to translate a whole lot better. Then I started to realize, like, damn, now I get it.
Yeah.
I get it. Then I start to, I don't know if you ever go through like the IG Reels. I like the IG Reels section more than TikTok, because I just find more creativity in it.
Yep.
Of shit that I like. Like, TikTok is just more just randomized. Almost.
Yeah.
Like, it's kind of algorithm based, but it's very random. Like, I see some funny shit, see just all kind of random shit. But my IG Reels section, like when I'm scrolling, it's straight creativity. I'm like, damn, that's fire. Damn, that's fire. Damn, that's a dope template. Damn. So it really helped me to see that it helped boost my creativity.
Open your horizons.
Yeah, I'm like, damn, I could do this. And I started following these different content creators and started talking to them. And they're like, hey, you should try to do this and try to do that. That's when I started to realize that there is a very, very small community of influencers that do, especially Black men, that do help and collab and have their own community. But it's very, very small.
Very small. Very untapped, because a lot of men are scared to get on the internet because they're scared to be called soft. They don't want their manhood challenged or tried on the internet. And that is basically just putting too much power in the hands of strangers. And it happens to everybody in the influential world. But the key is to not get hyped on the good or the bad. Because if you buy into the good, the bad will affect you.
Yep.
So I've learned to just be even Steven about all of it. Because when I go on the internet, like, man, I can't tell you, I've been called suspect, I've been called gay, I've been called everything out my damn name. And like, luckily, I'm a mentally strong person. Like,
Yep.
luckily, I've seen some people that aren't. There have been influencers that just could not handle it. They've quit, they've turned off their socials, they've just ran away from it. But having thick skin is important. And then on that side of the spectrum, if I just ignore it after a while, I started having block parties too. I was just like, all right, I'm just gonna block you, get out of my space, get out of my fame. Like, I'm not really worried about you anymore.
Yeah.
But that space of the collective few men, they understand and they get it. And one thing that EC's management had told her, because EC was going down the path of doing just straight fashion, and they're like, okay, if you're gonna do fashion, just know that Target's off, Walmart's off, Sephora's off, like all these brands, they're not gonna stick around for your content because they can't see themselves in it. The only people that are going to see themselves in it are clothing brands or maybe jewelry brands. You only get a select few of those, because after a while, some brands will be like, well, they're already representing something else, so I'm going to go ahead and back off. But when you open up that door, walk through it with some confidence.
Yeah.
And just be prepared, though, because the internet's a crazy place, and we all got to understand that. Like, everyone, there's millions of opinions. Everyone's going to have their feelings on something. It's very polar. It is what it is. The comment section is going to be the comment section. All you need to worry about is making sure that when you look back on your content years from now, did you leave a message? Did you leave something of importance? I don't think our generation kind of realizes this yet, but every post, everything that we put on the internet is a form of history being written. Our parents, I can't go back and look at my grandparents' Instagram, IG, and see what kind of person they were.
Yep.
I can't go back and look at my parents, anything, and see how they grew up. But with us, our kids, our grandkids will have the opportunity to go back and see what kind of imprint we left on the world. What kind of message did we leave for the people to come after us? And some of these people are going to look back in their 30s and 40s and be like, I'm not too proud of who I was for 10 years.
Yep.
And I don't want to, I found that out quick. And I didn't want to do that, because I looked back at some old YouTube content and I was like, this is not what I want to be remembered for. So I need to switch this up quick before I get to a point where I look back and be like, I would not want my kids to find me on YouTube.
Yeah, like this is it's kind of interesting. But to your point, so in terms of being versatile, I really had to buckled down, especially when I went through the sickness process after I came back from Mexico. And
I'm glad you made the recovery. I was praying for you like daily, bro.
Yeah, like that was very
crazy.
rough time. And it was such a chaotic time. It was so sudden, so much. I mean, I was texting you guys. There was so much information being thrown at me.
Yeah.
It was a crazy time. But I think the biggest thing that I was thinking about in that time is that I had lost out on about 4 or 5 different brand deals because of that happening. Because brands were just like, hey, like 2 of them were like alcohol brands, and obviously they were like, if you're gonna be sick and you're talking about heart surgery, we can't really align ourselves with it. You know what I mean? Which was understood. And I was like, damn, I started to get bummed out. I was very, very hurt. I was going through medical procedures. I had knee surgery and whatnot, and in tune that really prohibited me from being able to film because I was immobilized. Not to mention I had a PICC line in my arm. So it really put a damper on my creativity and just my mental in general, because again, I wasn't able to do anything, and nor was I even motivated to want to do anything. Because again, I couldn't walk, couldn't run. I had to be home by a certain time in order to change medicine. Like it was so much that went into it that I'm like, damn. But it also opened my eyes that one, health is wealth, right? So I wanted to again, this just goes back to being versatile, that I can use this as an opportunity to push myself to wellness brands.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
The recovery process.
Exactly. So people have to look for the good in the bad.
Yeah.
Right. And embrace it.
Yeah.
Like the bad is always going to be there. Bad is always going to be there. There's never going to be a time in life where everything is perfect and good.
Yeah.
Bad is always going to be there. It's how you embrace it and how you look for the good in it. And that's what I had to do. So long story short, I go to this restaurant called First Watch. It's kind of not far from where I live.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a wellness company like in the same plaza called Restore.
Oh, I seen your content on that. That's a
Yeah,
dope. Yeah.
super dope, right? So this is at this time when we go to the restaurant, I'm on crutches. Like I got a pick line in my arm, I'm on crutches, but we decide to go in there anyway. We go in. The people are very welcoming. They give us a little tour, showing us all of the different procedures they do, and I'm like, damn, this is super dope. But again, I'm on crutches. I got a pick line in my arm. There's nothing I can do in here right now.
Yeah.
So I told him, I was like, yeah, we'll just come back another time. We'll just come back later in life when it does align. So we go back maybe like, when I say a couple months ago, like 3 months ago, we go in and there's an assistant manager there, super dope woman.
Mm-hmm.
She's walking us through it. She's letting us do free core services. And she was like, hey, who are you? What do you do? Like, because I had the camera with me.
Yeah.
So I exchanged socials and whatnot. She was like, hey, you should be an ambassador. Like, blah, blah, blah. So long story short, she talked to the store manager. He was on board. We became good friends. And voila, it just happened like that.
Just like that.
Just from, again, and they had said they really enjoyed my recovery process. Like I said, I was explaining it because you have to explain your health history to them, obviously, before you undertake certain things. And they were like, wow. And it's funny that in that space, the store manager had went through something similar. The assistant store manager went through something similar. So these were something that aligned to them, that they went through something and that ended in here. So I was literally just another person in that spectrum that went through something and it ended me here in this recovery process, in this wellness brand. And now I'm partnered with them in order to bring other people into this company to enjoy the process of just getting healthy.
Yeah.
Right. Taking people into the cryo chamber, showing people what red light therapy looks like. You know what I mean? Showing people what compression looks like, showing people that IVs aren't just all if you're sick. There's definitely some great benefits to just getting a regular IV, whether that's through hydration, whether that's through mood, whether that's for better sleep. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that was something that I was extremely grateful for, because again, the whole health scare definitely put a huge pin in my mental to the point where I was like, man, fuck this shit. Like, you know,
I'm sure that was probably one of the toughest times ever. Like,
not
only is your health like going down, but now your career is on the line as well, because your health, that's got to be like a cycle.
It was huge. Like my family's asking me, like, is everything gonna be okay? And it's like, it was so much happening at that time with all the information that I was being forced to deal with. It's such a short amount of time, especially coming from somebody that just a couple of days ago I was about as healthy as I was gonna be.
And then now, on the other side, like heart surgery on the back, like me and Issy were over here like, what in the world is going on? We were just in Cabo. Like,
and it's crazy to me, because even when we were in Cabo and I had gotten sick, I still thought it was just something simple, like food poisoning. Cool. Like I'll get over that. I'll be good in like a week. Cool. But then when I get back and I go to the hospital and they're telling me it's, fucking something in my bloodstream. And I'm like, yo, what happened? Like, what happened? And then they say the bloodstream, and then it spreads to the knee, so I gotta have knee surgery. And I'm like, wait. And then the fucking cardiologist doctor is coming in and talking about the possibility of heart surgery, and I'm just like, hold on. Like,
everybody stop.
Wait a minute. And I can't tell you, and I'll be honest, I can't tell you how many tears I shed through that process. Like,
I'm sure, man.
Almost every piece of information I heard made me cry. When they said I had to have knee surgery, I cried to my brother. When the doctor came in and said I had to have heart surgery, I cried to my mom. You know what I mean? Even when I had the echocardiogram and they had told me that I still was going to have the possibility of heart surgery, I cried again. It was like, it was so many emotions that just, like, it was like a point where they just took over. Like, I couldn't even stop myself from crying if I wanted to.
But there's,
you know what I mean? Like,
having your heart on the line, your life on the line.
Like, come on. It was like,
that's not a time to be that hard, dude.
No, it wasn't possible.
Out the door.
It wasn't possible. I was thinking in my head, like, I'm a 27, 28-year-old guy, and you're talking about heart surgery. This is not something that I had on my bingo card for 2022. You know?
What? Like, and like, we were in the midst of it goes from like living your best life to like all of a sudden the worst thing. Like, literally, like think about what the worst thing could happen. That happened, all of it at one time.
So crazy. And I'm like, how the fuck did this happen? Like, I remember just sitting in the hospital, just like laying in bed, like, how did I get here? Like, and obviously there was a question like, what happens now? Like, if
Yeah.
I do undergo heart surgery, and you're talking about the recovery process is like 3 to 5 months, what the fuck do I do in those 3 to 5 months? You know what I mean? That something has to be done because, as you said, my career is on the line.
Yeah.
So what do I do? I can't sit here and make content from bed. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So then it goes through the process of like, okay, what can I do in order to switch this? Like, my brand has to go somewhere. If it's gonna go down this recovery process, I gotta be dedicated to it.
Mm-hmm.
So it left me with a lot of thoughts like, what can I do for my brand in order to sustain it through this process? And I'm thankful for those moments because it has taught me even now that I can't get comfortable. I got to always be looking for something to do with my brand, how to expand it, how to do whatever with it, and how to take certain things seriously, which is why when we came back, I mean, when I got more healthy, even before I got sick, I was doing the inner athlete content. You know what I mean? I really wanted to dive into podcasts. I wanted to figure out something that if this part of my brand goes down, I have something else I can lift up. You know what I mean? And that was like a very valuable lesson I learned in that process. And then there was also more personal levels that I learned. One, I was very, very thankful for my friends and family. Very thankful because, again, I wasn't changing those pick lines by myself. I couldn't.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There had to be somebody here every single day to change it. You know, whether that was my mom or just anybody to help change this pick line. Had people I had to lean on. You know, again, I couldn't get myself the doctor's appointments that I had every 3 weeks.
Yeah.
You know, I couldn't drive. I couldn't do anything. You know, I barely could come downstairs.
Yeah.
You know, there was so much that I was thankful for that it made me realize that I'm not only surrounded by great people, great friends, but I'm also surrounded by great family, just good energy. And even when I decided to share the story on social media, it was received very well. And I'm just like, okay, you know, if I want to transition my brand to something, I have an audience that's willing to watch it.
Yeah. And I was proud of you for sharing that story because you didn't have to.
No,
you really didn't have to.
Because you know, like, it took me a while to get to that point to share. Like, everything had happened, but even after the fact, I probably didn't share it for quite a while because shit, I was so many emotions I was dealing with at the time.
Yeah.
That social media was like one of the last things on my mind. Like, my body was first, like my mind was first. Like, it was just, I mean, it was a lot for sure. A lot for the mental to take that I don't wish on anybody.
Yeah. It makes you start going back into realizing like truly what's important. Like, a lot of people put money at the top of the list. There's so many things over top of that. You know, you would give all the money in the world for your health. You give all the money in the world for your freedom. You give all the money in the world for your family. There's tons of things that reside over money, but a lot of people are just kind of blind right now. Maybe they'll wake up one day, but hopefully it doesn't happen in such a way like it happened to you, where like it's just everything that really matters is now on the line, like immediately.
And that's what I try to tell people, especially like my close friends, that, you know, it's cool to be young. Like, I don't want to ever say it's nothing wrong with being young, but the decisions you make while you're young are going to affect you when you get older.
Really affect you when you get older.
So if you decide you want to go out and you're smoking hookah and you're drinking every single day, that shit, you may wake up the next morning and feel fine, but there's going to come a day when you wake up that next morning and you're going to be like, wait, you don't feel good no more. You know what I mean?
Man, I just played basketball like the other week. I used to get up when I was 21, 22. I would play like 5-6 games of basketball, wake up the next day and back, let's do it again. I played last weekend, played 5 games like I thought. I woke up, my lower back, I'm like, yo, I ain't never felt nothing like this in my entire life. What's wrong with me? You start realizing like you are kind of getting older. You will have to stretch before you work out. You will have to do a lot of things differently as you transition into older age. And like, no, it's not like I'm not still an athlete. I can still play. I can still hoop. It's just the adult thing about it where it's like you have to like pace yourself. You have to play a little bit smarter. You got to make sure that, you know, you're actually warmed up and prepared. Your body don't work the same way. You're not a spring chicken. You can't just get up and go all day long. But it's stuff that you learn over time. I think college kind of got all my partying out though. That's why like the only time we really like indulge or whatever is when we're on like special occasions or maybe on like vacation. We're like, okay, this is cool. But when you get into this entrepreneurial space, one thing you have to realize is that like it all rides on you.
Yeah,
Like that shit all rides on you.
for sure.
So
Sure. Now, last topic. Kind of want to dive into this because I get asked this question the absolute most ever
oh
since I
gosh.
started this podcast. And with you being married,
Mm,
what advice would you give to women who are looking to get their man to be more emotionally available and to be more emotionally vulnerable?
okay. I've been asked this question a lot
Mm,
as well, because everyone always asks, like, how did you get to this point?
yeah.
Um, for one, I
Mm,
was willing to do it, but the circumstances had to be right.
mm,
And by what I say the circumstances had to be right is I had to feel safe. I had
mm,
to be in an emotionally safe space. So when I say that, as a guy, when I was back in my wild days, back as a youngin, I had a lot of wild things to say. But what made it feel safe was that EC didn't overreact to those things that I said. She
mm,
accepted them, and she was more so curious to understand why I thought that way, which led to more conversation to, like, where did these feelings come from? Why
mm,
do you act this way? And she was really good at asking like solid questions that didn't make it feel like she was being hella intrusive, but it
mm,
was more so just like gentle leading questions that kind of got me to start talking more and more, to the point where I was like, dang, I've never thought about this in that way ever. It was something like the first question she asked me was like, what was your biggest fear? No one's ever asked me that in my life.
mm.
So I was like, I'm not comfortable answering that question. And so she was like, all right, that's fine. But do you notice that you're not comfortable answering that question? And I was like, yeah, that's kind of weird. And then she's, where did that come from? And then I had to think. I was like, you're going to have to give me a minute to think on this, because I don't know where that came from. But it comes to find out, like, I didn't necessarily grow up in a very emotionally, I wouldn't say emotionally intelligent family, because I feel like they were emotionally intelligent, but we just didn't talk about emotions at all.
Mm,
It just never happened. Most things in
right.
my life were school and sports. School, sports, what are you gonna do with work? School, sports, what are you gonna do with work? It was only until I linked up with EC that like emotions even came on the table. I
Mm,
was a very unemotional person. Like when I had two emotions. I was mad or happy.
yeah.
And if I was mad,
Yeah.
I was probably punching some shit, trying to blow off some steam,
Yeah.
walk away, whatever. Or I was good and I would just be even Steven. She'd be like, what do you think about? Nothing. I'm just me. I'm
Yeah.
chilling.
Good.
I'm good. Like ain't nothing wrong. So everything's good. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
um, but yeah, really her opening up that space. And then um the real kicker, I knew I was safe when I first shed a tear in front of her. I didn't cry
Mm.
in front of nobody. Nobody. That was like one of those things growing up where it's like, you cry, you're pussy. Like that's just how I was raised. That's just how football kind of molded my perspective. Sports, guys, like just that sphere of influence. And so when I first cried in front of her, I tried to like suck it back in. I was like, nah, this ain't even happening. She was like, it's cool. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna make you feel less than for that. And she was like, you really need to embrace it. It felt like I needed more time to cry. She was like, you probably need to cry a little bit more, because it seems like you've just kept all this stuff inside of you.
Yeah.
And like usually it was kept inside of me until I
Yeah.
got mad. And then I would go put a hole in a wall because I didn't know what to do with it.
Yep.
And so after that, I started realizing like, okay, there's a better outlet for me and my emotions other than me, damn near breaking my hand off on a wall, or potentially doing something even more dumb and like putting someone else's face in between it and just like, starting a fight or something.
Yeah.
And I like her approach because it was safe. I've heard conversations with a couple other women, and they can really be demasculating when emotions come into play. Like, I don't think a lot of women understand that most of a man's life, he's forced to be emotionless.
Yep.
He's put in emotionless spaces with other emotionless men. And so we're all going through something. That doesn't mean that we're not going through shit. That doesn't mean that we're not, dealing with life just like everybody else. We just ain't talking about it. We're dealing with it internally. There's a whole war happening in between men's ears.
Yeah, we're losing.
And we're losing.
We're losing.
Losing bad.
Yeah.
And so when a man finds a woman that he can be emotionally vulnerable with, there needs to be a moment or a space or a time where he can be emotionally vulnerable and feel like it's safe without feeling like he's going to be thought of as less than a man.
Yeah.
And more often than not, here's what happens 9 times out of 10 when women say, like, my man won't open up to me. More often than not, he said something to you, you overreacted. And when you overreacted, automatic switch flips on. I can't be my 100 self with you. So you're going to get that same emotionless person that I've been giving everyone else. It's not safe. It's just not safe. And that takes a lot of work to unwire. Once you've crossed that barrier and said, like, I can't trust you with my emotions, it takes a lot of building to get that back, because you've proven to him that, you don't respect his vulnerability with you. And that right there, like, a lot of women need to rewind it and hear it back. You got to let the man be vulnerable at some point. Otherwise, he's just going to be this emotionless man, and you're going to get that 2 version side of a man. You're going to get happy, sad, mad, and that's it. Because those are the 2 that are safe for masculinity. No other emotion on the spectrum is really safe for masculinity.
Yeah. I do tell women that there is, like you said, there's one opportunity that a man gives you. One. And that doesn't say anything about women. That says more about us as men.
Mm-hmm.
That one opportunity, like you said, if you overreact in this opportunity, it probably won't come again.
Nope.
And like I said, it says more about us than them, but
yeah, we're scared.
Yeah, we're terrified. It's like because it's almost like it's like letting down that wall just to see what happens. And then, like you said, if something that we deem negative happens in that experience for us, that wall goes back up. But when that wall goes back up, it becomes 10 times stronger.
Yep.
You know what I mean? We add some more bricks to it.
Yeah. It's like reinforcing, like, I knew I shouldn't have trusted you. Now I'm reinforcing it.
Exactly. So I like the idea of patience.
Yeah.
Providing a safe opportunity. Because again, men do go through emotional trauma in their youth, especially men who grew up in lower income neighborhoods, or men especially who play sports. You know what I mean? Because playing sports, especially at a young age, that's nothing but masculine energy. Literally. I remember even from little league football, that's nothing but masculine energy.
Yeah.
There's no care about, hey man, how are you feeling today? Nah, nigga. Get your ass out there and play some football. Go hit him. Go do this. Like, it's all masculine energy. So especially when you play it for so long, coming up through your youth, and despite what you may be going through at home, especially like you said, if there's not really no emotional conversations happening, then all you know is masculine energy. You don't know. I didn't know shit about that shit when I was growing up.
Yeah,
it was all masculine. I got a sister, but even she has very much masculine energy.
Same. My sister's a gangster.
So it wasn't like we weren't crying. Like, obviously there will be times where we do cry, like if there's something tragic happens, like if a family member passes away. But in terms of just like casual conversations about emotions, nah, it just wasn't happening, right? So when I got older and I did enter in a relationship, it became hard because I didn't know how to express certain shit. Like you said, it was either extremely mad or extremely happy. There was no in between. There was no in between. And ladies, I can tell you without a doubt, if you ask a man what's wrong, he say nothing, I'm chilling. That motherfucker mad. Mad about something.
And you just pay attention more to the context of how he said it than anything. If he's like, nah, I'm just chilling, I'm good. But if he's like, nah, I'm chilling, he's pissed. But the thing is, he lacks the emotional vocabulary to express what he's feeling. And I think it's taken years to acquire the emotional vocabulary to convey how I feel, because these words did not exist. Again, if you never have the conversation, you do not have the words. So ladies, like, you really do have to be patient, because if you ask a man how he feels, his vocabulary is probably very limited. So even if he wanted to tell you how he feels, he can't even get it out. He'll probably do something like, you know how you feel when, and then he'll give a scenario, and hopefully you can like assess the feelings through that. But the reality is, like, most men, they don't know how to express emotions. They don't know how to express how they feel. And that's why they But more often than not, they don't have that vocab
Yeah.
for you.
Yeah. And men, we have to get out of this masculine. Like we can't put it all on women to be more patient and do the work.
Hmm.
Men, there's work for us to do too, as
Oh,
well,
there's
especially internally. You know what I mean? Like
a
we have to
lot of
get to a
work.
point, and even if it starts with fucking talking in the mirror,
Hmm.
just being able to convey how you're feeling, your emotions, and being able to have some type of outlet. Again, even if you got to talk in the mirror to yourself, there
Yeah.
has to be some way where you're able to express the emotion verbally,
Hmm.
right? We can always just, because even like being angry and punching a hole in the wall, that's expressing it. It's just expressing it the wrong way.
Yeah.
You know, we have to be able to sit down and be like, hey, I feel this way. I feel such and such. I'm not happy today. This happened, or, you know, whatever the case may be. We have to be able to express it verbally so that
Hmm.
people around us are able to 100% understand what it is. Because if I get up tomorrow and go punch a hole in the wall, I don't got to tell nobody I'm mad. They can see that.
I can see it right there.
Yeah.
See it right there in the wall.
You know what I mean? They can see I'm mad. I don't got to. They don't got to ask, like, you know what I'm saying? Are you mad? They know that.
Yeah.
But I have to be able to tell them why. I have to be like, look, man, I'm dealing with this. I'm dealing with that. But I'm just going around punching a hole in the wall. They don't know how to help me. They don't know what to
Mm-mm.
say to me. You know what I mean? At the same time, nobody wants to say the wrong thing.
Hmm.
You know, nobody wants to invalidate your feelings. Like nobody wants to say, hey, you shouldn't do that. You shouldn't put a hole in the wall, right? Because at the same time, you could have went through something very traumatic where that fucking wall deserved it. You know what I mean? So you never want to get to the point where you're invalidating somebody's feelings. Like if I feel mad enough to put a hole in the wall, everybody around me should want to figure out why. Not fuck the wall at this point. It's already the hole. The hole is there.
And what's crazy is the punching the hole in the wall it's not just that moment. It's the combination of moments that you never got a chance to express. It's all the words that you never said. It's all the feelings that you never got a chance to truly feel. And it's just like it's been bottled up. And now you're at this point where it's like, well, something's got to pay. Something outside of me's got to pay. I got to get it out of me. So I'm going to transfer that energy somewhere else. And more often than not, emotions is just energy.
Yeah.
And like if you hold that energy, it eats at you. And the crazy part, I heard this professor, he had a phone in his hand, right? So he held the phone out straight across and he's like, how much does this phone weigh? And people were like, 2 pounds, 3 pounds, whatever. He said, if I hold this phone here for 5 minutes, I'll be able to do it. If I hold it here for 5 hours, it's going to hurt. If I hold it here for 5 weeks, my arm might just fall off. But that's what happens to a lot of guys. We just take those emotions and we say to ourselves, well, I can hold it. Well, you're holding that. You're holding the emotion before that. You're holding the emotion before that. And before you know it, you're weighed the fuck down. And you don't even realize it because most men are just taught to eat it. Like, eat it. Like, even like going back to what you were saying for football. First time I played football, I sucked. I was trashed. I was playing defense. They put the biggest running back in front of me. We did this line drill where they lined everybody up. It was me and him. And they said,
Oklahoma joint.
hit him. He ran straight through me. My head cocked back. My head hit the ground. I was confused. My ears were ringing. I wanted to cry. And then he was like, you better not fucking cry. Get up and hit him.
On the ground.
Yes. And I'm like, yo, what in the world is going on? And I realized I'm in a different environment. Like, this is not the place. This is not the place or time for emotions. But I think a lot of men have to understand that it is okay to have both masculine and feminine energy. And there are certain situations that call for masculine and feminine energy. As we transition into more comprehensive manhood, we have to realize that certain situations call for certain energies. If I am feeling emotional or angry in a situation where, like, I don't have a daughter yet, but if I have a daughter, or if I have, like, I'm talking to my wife, that calls for feminine energy. I need to be able to level with them on an emotional sense. If we are in imminent danger, if there's a threat, if there's, like, violence at hand, masculine energy needs to be present. I need to be thinking very logically. This is not a time for me to get emotional. This is not a time for me to get, scared. This is a time for masculine energy to show its face. But, certain situations call for certain energies. When I'm in that safe space, I don't need to necessarily be masculine. If my daughter, like, has a breakup, this isn't the time for me to say, like, suck that up, you got it. Or, like, it's time to emotionally level with them. But also, like, I think what happens nowadays is we have a lot of men that are more feminine energy than what they know. and
Yep.
they're bringing that feminine energy to masculine situations. And that's when, someone says something about you. Now you're pulling a gun because you got emotional, but you didn't think logically. You didn't think that when I pull this gun, now lives are on the line. Yours, theirs, everybody's.
Yep.
True masculine energy would say, I'm upset, but I know that situation doesn't call for imminent violence.
Yep.
You just got to be able to eat that at that point.
Yep.
Now,
and just really quick, to your point, I just want people to hear it again. The feminine energy that took over is what caused him to pull that gun. I know a lot of people may think that's masculine. You pulled that gun. No, that feminine energy caused you to pull that gun. That masculine energy would have told you to keep that gun on your waist. I want people to hear that. I want them to hear that,
because
that's an excellent point.
That is really what happens in a lot of those. Like, you think this is a bunch of men being men. Nah, it's men acting like women, and they're acting on their emotions. Yes. A real man he'll keep his calm because he understands the situation don't call for that. I need to be a G about it. But when
real
you start
men realize I gotta go home to my family.
That's a man.
If I'm out here being emotional, trying to start a problem with this, that, and the third, I'm out here being too emotional.
Nope.
Masculine man, a man who realizes where his responsibilities are, realizes he got to go home. Yep. I got a family to take care of. I got a household to protect. I got a household to take care of. I got family that loves me, that wants me to grow old.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? They don't want to see me in a grave. They don't want to see me behind bars. That's the masculine energy. Just want people to hear that.
For real.
Like your emotions, and when you pull that gun and you feel like you always got to fight, that's feminine energy.
Yeah, that's emotions taking over. And emotions is on the feminine spectrum.
Yes. So
that's masculine energy is purpose.
Yes.
When you realize your purpose is not to be pulling a gun on him, proving a point. Your purpose is to be a man. Your purpose is to provide for your family. Like, this is why I don't think people truly understand masculine and feminine energy, which is why I think the internet's all in a bunch of a tizzy about, like, oh, he's soft. No, he might be living in his purpose. He might be taking care of his family exactly the way he's doing. But what you don't understand, you want to call him soft because he's doing the right thing and not pulling a gun or beat somebody's ass in the streets.
It's crazy. You're calling him soft, but that's your emotions talking. You're just being emotional. If anybody's being feminine, it's you.
It's you.
You're being emotional to something I'm doing that I don't even know you.
Yeah. And like, why does that piss you off? Does it make you feel some type of way? Oh, guess what? You're being feminine energy.
Exactly. And that's the entire point where people don't understand the feminine and masculine energy.
Yeah.
They associate it to genders, and that's not the case.
It's not the case. I read this book. I think Nipsey Hussle recommended it, but it was called Way of the Superior Man.
Yeah.
That's where it really broke down masculine and feminine energy for me. Now, do I agree with the entire book? Some of the chapters in the book, I'm like, okay, this is kind of weird. But like, for the most part, it gave me a good understanding of like masculine versus feminine energy and why they can both coexist or why they both clash.
Yep.
Because sometimes you have like relationships with two masculine energy dominant people. It could be a man and a woman still, but the woman could have masculine energy like a motherfucker, and so can the man. And now there's no yang. It's just a bunch of yin. Yep. I really feel like masculine energy is the equivalent of yin and yang. They really should call it just yin and yang.
Yeah.
But when you have two yang or two yin, that's where you see problems.
Mm-hmm.
That's why the two-parent household is always important. That's why the two energies is always important, because they balance each other out. But when you have two situations, and this happens more with men, you got two feminine men that are going at it. They're both emotional, and that's when guns get pulled. That's when fights break out. That's when all this extra drama, because you got too much power and not enough control.
Yeah, and it also goes to men, and we talk about this all the time, men not knowing how to embrace their women, right? Mm-hmm. I say it all the time on social media. Like, if a woman is making, let's say, $150,000 a year, right? The man makes 90. In my opinion, that shouldn't be a problem. In my opinion,
my wife makes more than me, much more than me, and I'm still the happiest man. I still provide. I'm still the man of the house.
That should not be a problem. Like, the financial situation does not change the roles in a relationship, and I want people to know that the man is still going to be the man. The woman is still going to be the woman.
Yeah.
Right. Financials does not dictate that. Right. There has to be room for everybody to grow into their feminine and masculine energy.
Yeah.
You know, and that's okay.
And I also think I don't want to just make this all about men, because sometimes women embrace that masculine energy too much
That
and
is
they
true.
try and dominate their man.
That is true.
And that can mess some stuff up, because a man's still trying to be a man. But oftentimes when the woman is making more money, they feel like they have to be the leader or the man, and then they start embracing that masculine energy too much. But you can still make money and still embrace your feminine energy. There still needs to be a balance in
Yeah.
between both. So if you're trying to dominate your man, you're actually hurting his masculine journey by overcompensating. There's still room for a man to lead. It's something I had to learn, because if I'm living at my edge, that was a point of my mental health and depression at one point, because I was watching my wife be extremely successful on social media. I'm just now starting out. I just quit my job. I'm now a fresh new influencer. I'm not doing the same things. I'm not seeing the same kind of benefits. I'm not seeing the same kind of brand deals. And so I'm like, my manhood or my masculinity, my ability to provide for the family was being challenged. But then I realized I can still be a leader. I'm a spiritual leader. I still help with the financial decisions. I still help with good guidance. I'm working most of the back end on brand deals with her. Like, I still help with brand scripts. I still help with negotiations. Like, we still have a yin and a yang. Yes, the money may flow more on her side, but like, we're still a team. At the end of the day, we are still a team, and there's still room for both masculine and feminine energy.
Exactly. And I want especially men to understand that everything you just named is a form of providing.
It is.
Right? Providing that guidance, providing that emotional support. Like you said, providing those brand scripts, providing, it's all of that, right? A lot of men just look at providing as financials. Like, I'm putting food on the table, I got a roof over your head, so I'm good.
Yeah.
Right?
And then they don't take anything else into account after that either.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, money, good.
Yeah.
I'm a man.
I provided. That's it. Right. And I think that's what the issue presides, that there's so much more that goes into providing as a man, that the one thing I try to tell men, especially if they have kids, is that the number one person you should be trying to make happy in your household is your wife or your woman, right?
Yeah.
Because she's going to be the one that is holding down that emotional support. Because again, you're going to have that masculine energy, but she's going to have more than likely more feminine energy than you are. So she's going to have that more control or more in tune with the emotional side of the household, right? That's going to go down to the kids. It's going to be around friends and whatnot. You want to be able to have that support being in your household that you can always lean on. So when you're feeling emotional, sometimes men, we feel emotional. I may not be able to go to talk to my friend, right? But I can go talk to my woman.
Yeah.
You want to have that. That's what's going to balance you out to where, first of all, I'm always going to talk to like my family or friends first before I ever decide to do anything.
Yeah.
I want to have that. I want to create that support around me that always is beneficial to the way that I live. That way, every decision that I make, I can stand on, because I've already run it by the most important people in my life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
I think it's a beautiful, when you really in a household, because me and EC have really worked this out. When you truly embrace like masculine and feminine energy, it's a beautiful blend where, like, if I have a conflict of emotion, if I have a conflict of internal strife, I can go to her and she can help me find clarity. She can help me get to this point in my emotional journey that I could probably not get to by myself. If there's a issue of process, or an issue of like maybe problem solving, of critical thought, of something that maybe takes more logic, not to say that she's not a logical person, but sometimes I can just process things much quicker and much like clearer, because I can turn off that emotional switch a little easier than her. She can come to me for guidance, because often, emotional energy can cloud judgment at times, and I have to be there for her when, emotions get high. That's why masculine energy is important, because when you're acting in an emotional manner, sometimes logic goes out the door. The masculine energy comes in, and we meet at the center. You can play with the heart and the head, but sometimes the logic takes too much, and then sometimes you need to say, okay, well, you've just lost yourself in the numbers and the facts. You need to come back to center and sort of use a little bit of your heart to like meet somewhere in the middle. It's a beautiful mix, but if you have all masculine, you'll never have any kind of feeling in it. And if you're all feeling, you'll never be any logic, which is why I said there's really a balance. Everybody needs it.
Yeah, like everybody needs it. And it's so crucial to just living a healthy life. or whatnot, because I mean we see it especially in the older generation. So I think my mom is more masculine, and I think she kind of had to be because she only had one girl, all boys, right?
Yep.
You know what I mean? So effectively, she was trying to raise men as a single woman.
Yeah.
So it also led down a path of us not knowing how to really show emotion or verbalize our emotions. Like she could always say that, hey, you could talk to me, I'm always here. But if I don't feel as though that space was created and it's safe, then I'm just not gonna do it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like you said, there's always that yin and yang, and I feel like there's always that balance. And I especially try to teach, or I have conversations with my mom, just because she has a lot of grandkids. I have a lot of nieces and nephews that we can try to help them be more emotionally aware as to what they're feeling and how to convey those feelings, not just to me or not just to your mom or just not to your aunt, just to everyone because everybody knows it takes a village.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Definitely.
It takes a village to raise kids.
Oh yeah.
Nobody's ever going to do it by themselves.
And if you try to, good luck.
Yeah, like ever. You're going to need somebody, some group of somebody somewhere to help, whether that's through the daycare, your friends, your family. Somebody's got to be there to help, or it's going to be extremely hard. Not saying it's impossible. It just makes it extremely hard. So we just try to create that safe space that if something does occur or something happens, we all want to be emotionally aware and also more receptive of what they may say without being reactive or without judging or things like that. You know what I mean? So it's always good to just have those, and we have these conversations periodically. So it's just not like a, hey, you can come talk to me, this, that, and the third, and then that'd be the only conversation we have. It's like, nah, this is work that has to be done constantly, consistently. Like we have to constantly have these conversations, like just even if it's just general conversations, we talk about, hey, how are you feeling today? If anything happened, or how's your day? Just very casual conversations where you want to continue to make that space safe, because at least for me as a man, it's like subconsciously we're always putting those bricks down, like that wall that's always being built.
Yeah.
Right. But when you have these when you have these conversations, you knock down a piece at a time. You just keep knocking it down. But again, subconsciously, it just keeps building itself back up because that's just what we were taught. So that wall is never gone, never not there.
Yeah.
Sometimes it may be very minimal. Sometimes it may be a little up. But, as long as you're having those conversations, as long as you're continuing to do the work, you keep knocking down a piece of that wall at a time. Try to keep it down as much as possible so that you can be emotionally aware and emotionally in tune with yourself, so that the people around you just doesn't look at you as an asshole or just a hard ass. You know what I mean? So
and maybe even to build off the analogy, I think that the wall might be necessary for men, but build a door in there, build a window, have an access point to that emotional vulnerability, so that way, like, when the time comes to have the wall, you're fortified. But when the time comes to be open, you can still open the door. You're not just a brick wall. There's still like an access point to you.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful blend.
No, for sure, man. But again, I don't think I said it, but I appreciate you for coming on. We've been on for about an hour and a half now, man. It's been a great conversation. We talked about pretty much in the realm of everything. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Whole spectrum of things.
Man,
appreciate you having me, man.
Always, brother. But one thing I will say is that you for sure should start an individual podcast about something. I think you have the awareness and the knowledge in order to whatever topic you decide to discuss, because I mean we know each other very well at this point.
Yeah.
We know how we operate, and we both kind of thrive off knowledge. Like we always have conversations about the most random shit, but this random shit we always know so much about it.
We're daily students.
Yeah, just like, so I definitely think you should dive into it. And I said it's pretty easy. But again, I appreciate you for coming on, man. Gotta do this again. And,
for sure.
Yeah, man. And, we'll talk soon for sure. And I'm about to edit this joint today.
Okay.
Get this shit together because it's shitty weather out here anyway.
Yeah,
man. If there's anything you would like to throw out there, feel free. I know you thought your socials, whatever.
If you guys don't know, Hydrated Hero. I'm Hydrated Hero on all 3 platforms. I'm thinking about changing my name to my actual name sooner or later. I feel like that's the adult thing to do. But for now, still Hydrated Hero.
Okay.
Love to, see you guys over there. I'm doing some motivational stuff. I'm thinking about maybe doing a motivational speech sometime this year. I thought I would try and get into public speaking. We'll see. We'll see how that goes. But yeah, thanks for having me on. For all those who are out here listening, understand your emotions. Understand that it's okay to be emotional. All my fellas out there, it's okay to live your life on the internet. Don't get caught up in that extra hoorah of toxic masculinity. It's for the birds, and you have way more opportunities on the other side. So
definitely, the grass is greener. If I might say so myself.
I think you got two candidates right here that can tell you the grass is greener on the other side.
Yeah, man, I appreciate you, dog, and I'll hit you up later. We'll talk more, whatnot, and yeah, my man, I definitely appreciate it.
For sure. Talk with you, man.
All right, brother. Later. All right, guys, that pretty much wraps up this podcast. Yeah, man, my guy Josh, we came on and we talked about a lot of different things. And yeah, guys, man, we'll just kind of tap in, and thank you for tuning in to another episode of Men and Mental. We got a lot more of these coming, a lot more episodes coming. Again, if you guys want to reach out, you go into the Instagram, Men and Mental on Instagram. There is a set more where you can make an appointment in order to have a consultation with me, where then we would have a conversation about topics that you may be passionate about. That way I can do my own homework or have knowledge of it, so that when it comes time to have the actual conversation on the podcast, everything kind of flows naturally, and you're not in the dark from what I say, and I'm not in the dark based on what you may say. So again, guys, I appreciate you, love you. We'll catch you guys in the next episode of Men and Mental. Peace.